drunken monkeys, HBUT, and fear. No, we're not talking about what Jeff dreamt about last night. These are actually thought-provoking concepts that we'll be exploring today with our guest, real estate agent, Denene Capritta. Denene, like many successful business owners, ranks self-awareness high on the list of must-have characteristics. We'll discuss how taking an honest look at strengths and weaknesses can give business owners an advantage over competitors. Also today, we offer tips on how to prepare for networking. What you do before you engage will help to maximize the number and quality of the connections you make. And of course, we'll dive into the fishbowl again and take on another crazy interview question. We have lots of great conversation ahead, so let's fire it up.
If you're an entrepreneur who wants to learn how to manage time, achieve goals, and increase profits, Trending Now Talk podcast is for you. Weekly episodes include business leaders who reveal valuable insights and lessons learned. Also, your hosts Cynthia Cintron and Jeff Guadalupe share tips and trends focused on areas that will help feed your entrepreneurial spirit and fire up your success.
First of all, we want to definitely welcome you.
Thank you.
We've been looking forward to getting together with you for a while.
Same.
I definitely needed to ask you to open up the show with one question. How did you get into your field?
It's actually a pretty funny story. I was a marketing rep for an insurance company, and one of my coworkers said to me, "You should get into real estate." And so I said, "Okay." And I went and got my license, and the rest is history. So she planted the seed.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. When coming into the real estate, though, it's such a wide open field.
Mm-hmm.
How did you go into the type of real estate that you're in?
Well, I started out as a lot of agents do in residential, and that's where my main focus has been for the past 5 years.
So you've also, I've known you for a while, and I've seen you make some changes, and I've always thought, wow, she's just so brave to, and just really is getting to know who she is as an agent. Can you talk a little bit about why you made those decisions and how you did?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that for me, I came to a point this year where I felt like I needed a change. I was in a little bit of a rut, and what I thought that I wanted to accomplish, I accomplished it, and then I wasn't happy. I was like, so what? So I decided that I wanted to switch gears. I have on my yoga mat, one of the mantras is, have you woken up more than 2 days in a row uninspired? So that's, you know, when you're down, face down on the mat and you see that and that's ingrained in your brain, I'm like, yeah, I have woken up more than 2 days in a row uninspired. So I think for me, that's something that makes me want to make a change when that happens.
You mentioned that yoga. Is that something that you do to keep balance between your career and your personal life?
Absolutely. I did it before this interview today, in fact, just 15 minutes.
You
Needed to do it before you came to the
This is why
interview.
she's successful.
No, absolutely.
Just 15 minutes, that's all I had time for, but I made it happen at home.
But you committed yourself to it, and that's huge. What else do you commit yourself to keep that balance?
Well, there's kind of this saying of, are you interested or are you committed?
Okay.
So I think that word commitment is huge. Things that I do is the daily mantras, the things to keep your mindset focused, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this issue of being scattered and wanting to do all the things all at once.
Yeah.
So really sitting down, and it's hard to break things down and take it step by step and day by day.
Yeah, I think this is a great place to ask you about your HBUT.
That I've been dreaming about.
Shame on you. No.
I love, by the way, I love your HBUT.
And it's funny because when I do my daily routine in the morning, I write it at the top of my page.
Yeah.
And HBUT, for those of you who don't know, stands for highest and best use of time. Okay. So I think that's a great way, like you said, to keep focused, because you can get caught up in all of these daily activities, and then you feel as though you're spinning your wheels, but you're not getting any closer to your goal. We have this glorification of busy. So, you know, pulling things back and stopping yourself and checking in and saying, is this my highest and best use of time?
Yeah.
And if it's not, then switch gears or hire somebody or delegate, and that's, you know, part of leadership.
Yeah, I find that ever since you introduced me to this concept, it pops up, especially when I feel like I haven't gotten, and this happens to entrepreneurs all the time, I feel like I've been so busy and I have no idea what I accomplished.
Absolutely.
And if you're saying that, I think the very next thing should be HBUT.
Absolutely.
What?
And I think that's what causes us to get burnt out, because we're just going and going and going, but we're not really making progress, or we make one step forward and then 2 steps back. So we have to do those check-ins, I think, a lot more often maybe than we normally do, to kind of check in and see what's working, what's not working, and how can I make those little tweaks and adjustments. It doesn't have to always be this dramatic change. Sometimes it's just a small tweak that can make all the difference.
Absolutely, and I also love that it's highest and best use of time. I have conversations with colleagues and friends, and we talk about what we did and we accomplished, and there are the things that we enjoy doing and the things that we don't enjoy doing. I think when you're creating that priority list, to really ask ourselves, is this the highest and best use of time? Do you do that?
Yes, absolutely. And it's so much easier to give the advice than it is for us to take the advice, you know? So I think that I'm a lot better at giving it than sometimes I am at taking it, but we're human.
Well, we have to be gentle on ourselves, right? Recognize, and this is part of the self-awareness process, yeah?
Not only gentle, but we have to be organized, and we have to give ourselves that parameter that as you're looking at it, sometimes it's not the big things, it's the small things that are easy to do, but then they're also easy not to do. And those little things can get us that much closer to our goal.
The daily habits.
Absolutely. Now, you had mentioned in our conversations writing things down. Is that something you do daily, weekly, monthly?
I love writing things down. I'm an up and visual person. I'm a storyboard things, and the up and visual has actually helped me a lot in my business in multiple ways. I'll tell you a funny story, a little anecdote. So I have in my home office my hot, warm, cold list for my leads, and I'll have friends and people come over to my house and they see it and they go, what do I need to do to get on the hot list? Because everybody wants to be on the hot list, right? They don't want to be on the warm or the cold. No one wants to be the mild salsa. So what do I need to do to get on the hot list? And I say, buy a house. And they're like, okay. It has worked.
Hey, great way to market.
Okay, write that down.
How do I get on the hot list?
I'm going to try that.
Introduce people to your hot list. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
What is the one thing that you love that you could say is one of the top things that you love about the journey that you've taken?
The learning from the failures. I think, you know, so many people, it's always shooting for success. Well, so many entrepreneurs, you know, being the best, and whether you grew up playing sports and you're competitive and, you know, always needing to be number one and, you know, achieving this level. And it sounds cliche, but I've learned more from my failures than I have from my successes. So
yeah, and I think also when you're moving through those successes and failures, more so definitely failures, you mentioned that you try really, really hard not to listen to the drunken monkey. So for Jeff's benefit,
the other thing I was dreaming about.
Talk to us
I think
about
of the monkey on the chunky monkey on the Ben and Jerry's.
The
chunky. Sometimes if you eat too much Ben and Jerry's, then it turns into a chunky monkey. But you know.
But it's a drunken monkey.
Drunken monkey is the one you have to worry about, not the chunky.
Yeah.
Who's the drunken monkey, or what's the drunken monkey?
The drunken monkey is basically that voice in your head that tells you negative things, that you're not good enough. Why are you wasting your time? It sometimes can be about a person, you know, this person is just using you, or something is toxic. So it's not always a bad thing, but it's a lot of times it's that voice that just tells you everyone's gonna laugh at you, and just kind of holds you back from doing the thing.
The thing, exactly, the thing that you know that you wanna move forward with. And that's definitely more of my friends and more entrepreneurs that I connect with on a regular basis, that fear is what holds them back. I'm afraid of how I'll look. I'm afraid that
All
people won't know
business
I'm
owners.
favored.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm afraid to fail.
right?
And
Talk-
they
What
don't
will
know.
people say?
They don't have a clear understanding that without failure you can't succeed, especially within being an entrepreneur.
Totally.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about fear. You also have really amazing insight on fear.
Should I talk about the bridge jump, or are we going? Are we
Oh,
going?
no. A bridge jump. I want
Are
that.
we? Are we just gonna skip
Yeah.
all over?
No,
a
No,
lot
no,
of things, or-
actually, I don't know about the bridge jump. Let's
Okay.
go ahead and roll that out.
Should we go into the bridge jump?
Yes, please.
I mean, you know, when you talk about fear, sometimes you think about all fear factor, like bugs or being inside of a confined space, claustrophobic,
Right.
all different types of extreme fears, and one of mine is heights.
Okay.
I'm fine with flying on a plane. I just don't really like to look out the window, and I don't know where it came from, but I just have a fear of heights. And a couple years ago, I was a contestant on a TV show, and you had to do mental and physical challenges.
Okay.
And one of the challenges was to jump off of a bridge in Miami, and I did it. And not only did I do it, but I did it twice. They made us do it twice. I don't know why, because it's like, you did it once, why do you have to do
Let's
it
do it again.
Yeah, why do you have to do it again? Maybe they didn't get the shot the first time. But I did it twice, and that, I mean, I'll never forget that, overcoming the fear of the heights.
Denene, you're on that bridge. Your palms are sweating. You are just ready to run for the hills. What do you tell yourself to make the jump, get over the fear?
Jump and learn how to fly on the way down. And it wasn't so much a jump, it was more a fall because I didn't want to do it. So it was kind of a fling
Okay.
over the edge, and I didn't know how to land, and it hurt. I hurt myself bad when I landed because it's not something I do on a normal basis.
Okay. Was it a bungee? Is it a parachute?
No,
What?
it was just a free jump.
Water?
Water, yes,
Okay, I
water.
hope-
But if you hit the water
She goes
wrong,
landed.
if you
Yes,
hit the water
right.
wrong,
Yeah.
it hurts.
Yes,
And so I
sure.
didn't know how to do it. And then swam to the shore, and I'm like, okay, I did it. It's over, and all this adrenaline's pumping through you. And then they're like, oh, go up and do it again. And at that moment, actually, that was one of the moments out of the entire day where I wanted to quit, because in my mind, I don't know if it was the drunk monkey or what it was, but I was like, well, I already did it. Why do I have to do it again? And maybe that's kind of another part of the process, that like sometimes when you think you've accomplished something and you've made it, it's like, nope, go do it again. And the second time I put a life vest on, so it didn't hurt as bad when I landed because I had the life vest, even though I know how to swim, but
No, that
life
must
vest was nice.
could have been
Wow,
painful.
you're so brave.
No.
But yeah, it's just, it is. It's one of the biggest obstacles, I think, that we suffer. There's so many things every single day that can hold us back, from being unmotivated to being afraid of whether we're going to, mess up the sales pitch or whatever the case may be. And there's so many opportunities to quit, and that's
Because of that fear. I mean,
Yes.
the thing is that sometimes when we talk about fear, people don't understand. In all reality, we're born with only two fears. We're born with the fear of loud noises. If you ever took a baby and you went like this and that baby just shook like this, it's that same fear of falling. All other fears have been learned. If you took that baby and you put it in the water next to a shark or next to a spider, there's no fear there. It's all a learned fear. So sometimes entrepreneurs would think that they can't unlearn a fear, and they
Yes.
can. They can unlearn that fear.
Interesting.
brilliant. Denene, another concept that I know that we talked about that I thought was intriguing and also really powerful was your problem-solving strategy. And you talk about eating their breakfast.
Yeah, eating their breakfast is kind of just another way of saying putting yourself in their shoes. A lot of times in the business world, you're going to have conflict, and especially when you're making a lot of money, there's a saying, we get paid to have difficult conversations. And so, some of my friends are lawyers and things like that. They get paid to have very difficult conversations oftentimes. So just going back to putting yourself in their shoes, where are they coming from? In Grant Cardone, that's the show that I went on, he says in one of his trainings, is it an objection or is it a complaint? and really breaking it down. And if someone's saying to you, well, your prices are too high, well, instead of you saying, coming back at them, you can say, wait a minute, are they complaining or are they just venting? Where is this hostility coming from? And really trying to unpack that a little bit more and dig deeper and peel back the layers of the onion to find the root of where this adversary is coming from.
Yeah, I know sometimes the objection is just an invitation to continue the conversation.
Right, exactly. And conflict doesn't necessarily mean bad. I think that we're so used to, shutting down when there's conflict, but there's conflict resolution. And then you can actually get to the root of what is going on in the situation with the conflict. As long as you fight fair.
Do you have a to-do list that includes fixing things that are cracked, broken, old, or half done? Stop stressing. Call Diversified Contractor Services, the premier choice for those in need of the professional alternative to doing it yourself. Diversified Contractor Services specializes in helping seniors, small businesses, and busy professionals who don't have the time or ability for light construction, repairs, or maintenance services. Their trained, dependable, and licensed team are ready to help with tile repair, light fixtures, painting, pressure washing, landscape installation, small to mid-sized construction jobs, and more. Diversified Contractor Services offers high-quality workmanship that's honest, dependable, on time, and done right. Call today for a free estimate, 321-215-8208, 321-215-8208. Also, connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Just remember our name, Diversified Contractor Services.
N2 Publishing is the leader in their industry, creating custom publications that connect neighbors to neighbors and business owners to hard-to-reach customers throughout the nation for nearly 15 years. And locally in Satellite Beach with Tortoise Island Living magazine for over 10 years. N2 Publishing is passionate about turning neighborhoods into communities, and through a hyper-targeted, multi-touch point approach, their business partners reach their ideal customers in a unique and powerful way. If you are ready for your business to make the right impression with the right customers, call today 321-604-0595. That's 321-604-0595. Also connect with Tortoise Island Living magazine on Instagram and Facebook.
So Denene, continuing our journey along the path of self-awareness, talk to me a little bit about what you consider is the worst habit an entrepreneur can have, and lack of boundaries is, I believe, what you said?
Yes, I think lack of boundaries. As a business owner or an entrepreneur, you're the first one there, you're the last one to leave. You're basically on call 24/7. And that just comes with part of the territory. That's what you sign up for. But then you start to realize, I have no life. And certain habits that myself and my husband have gotten ourselves into because of this is at night putting our phones on do not disturb. Things like that, because we would get calls, texts, messages all hours of the day, all hours of the night. So then you're not sleeping, or no phones at dinner, or certain things like that. So you have to implement those boundaries. And normally if you're at a 9 to 5, you aren't even allowed to have your phone on you while you're at work.
Yeah,
so then when you come home, not always bringing your work home with you, because then you can turn into, it's 7, 8, 9, you can work 24/7, and that's where you start to get burnt out.
Yeah, definitely. I see putting those hard stops. I know when I first started working out of my home office, you're just drawn to, I'll just do this load of wash, or I'll just do this, or I'll, right?
Distractions.
And that's the
Squirrel.
thing.
Squirrel.
Yes,
Squirrel.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I work from home a lot too, and so sometimes I'll just go to a Starbucks or I'll just go somewhere just to get out of and do time
Controlled
blocking.
atmosphere.
Yeah,
Time
a controlled
blocking.
atmosphere where you can time block and there's not going to be any other distractions except for maybe some people watching, but that's okay.
That's okay. You could work that in. And I think also boundaries in terms of what you will and won't do. And
Totally.
I think that ties back to HBUT.
It does.
But tell me about, how you make decisions. I know you talked to me about, choosing which clients you would want to take, being selective.
Absolutely, and that's goes back into just having a little bit of experience under your belt and not being so desperate and not wanting to take every client and knowing when to say no and this isn't the right fit for me. Maybe I can refer you out to somebody else who I feel like would be a better service to you. And I think that comes, there's just a certain, I don't know, say maturity level, but just knowing when things are not going to serve you, and then you're not going to be able to serve the client in the best way either.
Absolutely, that makes sense. The other thing that struck me when we were preparing for today was that you talked about, again, in terms of self-awareness, having an understanding of how you come across to your customers and to people. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always felt as though I carried myself with a lot of confidence. I'm not exactly sure where that came from, maybe just from my upbringing or just how I am, but there's that line of confidence and arrogance. There's that always wanting to be a student, but at the same time, if somebody's coming to you, you're an expert in your profession. They're coming to you for advice or for the right type of service or goods and service, whatever it is that you do as an entrepreneur. So sometimes I've gotten into trouble because I've let people intimidate me and steer the conversation, and that's when I've really gotten into trouble because I didn't trust my gut, where I knew I should have put my foot down here or I should have stuck to my guns, and I let this person steamroll me. And it ended up backfiring and blowing up in my face.
Yeah. Well, it's important then in that case to be humble and really examine what you're doing. I know I've walked out of meetings in the past where I literally all the way to the car, it's like, what was I thinking? I saw, you know that look when you're in a meeting and the client's eyes glaze over and you're like, okay.
Just lost them.
They're getting
Elvis
bored
has
with me.
left the building.
And knowing the self-awareness of these people are getting bored with me.
Come back.
You're trying to figure out how to get them back.
Chasing them down in the parking lot.
Really? You don't like me?
People really do like her. But being able to do that.
But you're not everyone's cup of tea.
Right.
Right?
Right. But sticking to your guns. Sticking to your guns is so important, and sometimes we don't realize that having that posture is all part of business.
Yeah.
You said that, maturity. Yeah. It's a learned, posture, and I think it's very strong to have that.
Knowing when it serves you and when it doesn't serve
Absolutely.
you. And then making the adjustments. But it really requires a lot of humility.
Yeah.
And I think business owners, we think all the time that we have to be powerful and strong leaders all the time, but we sort of overlook the humility part and really examining ourselves so that when we go out into the public, into our meetings, that we are, being not only our best selves, but the self that we want to be.
Not coming off cocky either.
Totally. And I think that going back to the fear factor, a lot of people have that imposter syndrome. Are they going to think I'm an imposter? Or are they going to think that I'm a phony? The whole fake it till you make it, that's over. We're not doing that anymore.
Right.
And like you said, being able to humble yourself, and somebody asks you a question and no, I don't know the answer, but I'll find out.
I'll find the answer.
Exactly. And instead of just making something up and again, it's going to blow up in your face because they're going to find out that you don't know what the heck you're talking about.
No, absolutely. You talked about fear. You talked about the different obstacles, being balanced. If you could do it all over again, would you choose to take the same path, the same field that you're in at this time?
That's such a good
deep.
question.
Come on now.
That's a
Deep.
deep
We're
one.
going
I can
in.
feel that in the pit of my
Or
stomach.
would you rather raise
honestly.
puppies? Right?
I do love puppies. No, I mean, I would do it all over again. Like I said, going back to, have you woken up more than 2 days in a row uninspired?
Right.
I would do it all over again because it's been a wild ride. It's been a roller coaster, and I'm excited. I feel that excitement for the future and for the things that I'm planning on doing. So would I do it all over again? Yes, because it got me to where I am now, and I wouldn't have had all of these amazing experiences, met wonderful people, and people, when they meet me, they're like, you were made to be a realtor. This makes sense. When I was in school, I was always a good student, but the only thing I ever got in trouble for was talking. And on my report card, it said,
Cynthia.
you know, Denene, yeah, exactly, here we are. You know, Denene needs to not talk, and it's like, you can move my seat because I talk to anybody, it doesn't matter. And so part of me wants to take my next commission check back to my teacher, slap it on the desk, and be like, now I get paid to talk. But I think it also comes, the maturity of it over time has come with learning how to listen as well. And I feel like when I was younger, I had the talking thing down, but it's taken the
As we all.
experience to be able to listen and really listen to, you know, whoever you're dealing with.
So if you were talking to somebody who is about to come into your field, become a realtor, what advice would you give them? How would you lead them?
So like Mike Ferry says, it's a get-rich business, but it's not a get-rich-quick business. I think that a lot of newer agents, they want to skip steps. They want to go to we joke around about the white BMW. You know, they see all these things on TV, or there's this perception of how things are going to be, and they want to skip the work and get to the benefits.
Right.
So I think it's really just realizing that it's going to take time, and being, are you interested or are you committed? So is this something that you're interested in? Is it a hobby? Is it you see something on HGTV and you think that that's reality?
Right.
And then, you know, then you get the reality dose. So.
And commercial versus residential. Would you say, well, what would you recommend to a realtor getting into that?
I really don't have a lot of commercial experience, so I can't really speak too much on it. I'm open to it, and that's what's exciting about the real estate, is there's so many different paths that you can take. There's residential, commercial, investing, property management. There's so many different avenues that you can explore. So that's, to me, what makes it so exciting.
There's
no
room
limit.
for growth, a lot of room for growth.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of room for growth, and there are a lot of real estate agents. It feels like I would venture that there isn't a person alive that doesn't know a real estate agent.
Yes.
It's almost like the Kevin Bacon game.
Right.
It's very saturated. It's extremely saturated.
How do you set yourself apart? What do you do to, you know, show up and out in the room?
I think it's, you know, obviously paying attention to your competition and knowing what they're doing and not having blinders on, but it's also just being in competition with yourself. Again, bringing it back to the self-awareness. If all you're doing is focusing on somebody else, then, you know, you're not laser focused in on what you need to be doing. So I think it's that, and I think it's also just having a servant's heart, wanting to serve. How can I bless somebody today? How can I serve?
I see how
Instead
important
of,
that is
yeah,
to you.
instead of what's in it for me. You know, and a lot of people have that, I'm getting emotional. My
Oh, that's
goodness.
wonderful.
A lot of people have that outlook of what's in it for me.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you're either going to be chasing that paper, you're going to be chasing that commission check, or you're going to be focusing on the relationship.
Yeah. It's
I
a.
believe I'm crying.
Well, I think it's amazing. You know what? I get touched too. I call it having your heart squeezed. When integrity happens in a super powerful way, when what you say, what you feel, what you do, and what's happening are all in alignment, it's like, you know, the doves fly, and it's fantastic. It just creates this
Moment.
this experience. And don't we live for the moments?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter what career we're following. You find yourself in that moment, that's a success that you'll never forget.
Totally.
You don't forget that.
Yeah. And, you know, this is actually the perfect time, I think, Jeff, to introduce Denene to the fishbowl.
Nice.
I do. I think that Denene is ready. I think that
She's been wondering what the fishbowl
I
was. She's
have.
been looking
She
at the
has.
bling.
I love
I
the,
know, right?
the
Did you
Finding
see
Nemo
this?
theme.
So Denene, our fishbowl, as you may or may not know, is an opportunity for us to laugh at our guests. No, actually,
Thank you.
it's
Do it without the fishbowl, but
this
that's
is
okay.
just it's a Jeff and Cynthia thing. No, actually, what we've realized is that the largest corporations across the country, as part of their interview process, will ask some really strange and bizarre questions for various reasons. One, to find out how a candidate thinks on their feet, or see if they're a leader or a team member, or
Problem solver.
problem solving, or many times really just to see how they react under pressure. I personally believe it's to laugh at the candidates.
Do your worst.
So Denene, please do the honors and
Drum
select.
roll?
Yes.
Is there a drum roll? Okay. I hope this is a good one. Oh, you asked.
All right.
I was trying to peek.
Yeah, no,
no
you don't
peeking.
peek.
No
No,
peeking.
you don't have a second. Okay. Oh, this is a fun one. Okay, this is asked at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Okay.
All right. If you were a box of cereal, what would you be and why?
Okay, first of all, do they even have cereal at Bed Bath & Beyond? Is that in the Beyond
That's-
section?
That's the
That was
Beyond.
in the
That's
Beyond
Beyond.
That's the
section.
Be-
That's the Beyond
cereal.
section.
Okay.
Yes.
It's like the movie Click. If I were a box of cereal, what was it?
What?
See, I already squirreled. I
Right,
already forgot the
squirrel.
question.
Yeah, you're like, okay. What would you be and why?
If I were a box of
If
cereal.
you were a box of cereal.
What box of cereal?
Well, first of all, I don't even really like cereal. My husband loves cereal.
Okay.
Okay.
If I were a box of cereal, well, I don't like sweets. So I always joke around that
Okay.
I'm sweet enough already.
All right.
So I wouldn't be like a sweet, sugary, any type of something like that. But then I also wouldn't want to be something boring like a Raisin Bran or like
A Wheatie.
Yeah,
Or
like I wouldn't want to be something.
granola. Are you granola?
I can be granola.
if you
but
had nuts and raisins, you could be a little granola.
Yeah, gosh, what kind of cereal would I be?
Muesli. Does anybody ever really eat muesli?
I've
All I know is
Ew.
it's gray.
No.
Cynthia's Cocoa Puffs.
I-
So
She's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Oh man,
I'm
what kind of
cornflake. I'm
cereal
great.
Would I be?
Oh no, that's not cornflakes. That's frosted flakes.
You don't
I'm a
even know.
frosted flake. I'm telling you the time. Great.
I actually do like this one cereal that I just discovered, and it's a healthy one. It's got protein in it, and it's got a peanut butter flavor. And so it's not like the junk food peanut butter one, whatever that one's called. It's like the Kashi Go Lean
Oh, I know Kashi.
something
I eat
or
Kashi.
other. Yeah, so it's kind of like a good in between where it's healthy, but then it still tastes good.
Yeah.
And it's, and I love peanut butter, so I would
So
be.
she's healthy. She still tastes
I
good.
would be exactly. It would be something like that. A good balance.
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
Libra, so I'm always looking for the balance.
Excellent. Well, Denene, you're hired. And
What's the job? What's the job?
I mean, I
Bed Bath
don't
&
know,
Beyond?
but I
Making
want
us
it.
laugh.
Whatever you're bringing, I want it,
yeah.
and we're grateful that you
Okay,
came
I'll
today.
serve it up for you.
We had a fantastic time. We're glad.
Thank you
glad
so
showed up.
much for
Same.
bringing so much great information.
Thank you guys. Thank you for
And the
making
fun.
me cry.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Soterra Living has a profound knowledge, passion, and appreciation for all aspects of real estate, which includes exploring new ideas and approaches that relate back to cultivating and nurturing relationships. Using savvy marketing and expert representation, Soterra Living keeps it small and curated so home buyers, sellers, and renters know they will receive personalized service based on honesty, integrity, and industry expertise. Soterra Living is forward-thinking, finding creative solutions that meet the unique needs of each and every client. Soterra Living embraces technology, but never sacrifices the connection with its clients. Soterra Living's goal is to find your sanctuary and match you with the perfect property to fit your residential, commercial, or investment needs. To begin the search for your sanctuary today, call Denene Capritta directly at 321-960-4613 or visit soterraliving.com. That's SOTERA living.com. Again, that's 321-960-4613 or visit soterraliving.com.
Now we arrive to the tip of the day. Last episode, we were talking about follow-up, a very important part of networking. However, a lot of questions were given to me when it comes down to what kind of preparation does it take before going out to a networking event. And that was such an excellent question. I had to put some points together for you because, again, preparation is always key. When it comes down to preparing for a networking event, there's going to be 4 things that you could take advantage of. First is research. You want to research the type of networking events that are out there. If you are in the field of, let's say, construction, if you have networking events that are focusing on health or focusing on wellness, you may make 1 or 2 contacts, but you may want to look for a different type of networking event that's going to be focused more in the construction field, and that takes effort. When it comes down to that, not only research what they're going to be doing there, but also who's going to be there. If it was construction, if it's HOAs, there's certain builders, you want to be able to see who you're going to meet. And by doing that research, you're going to have a better outcome of your time. Because remember, it's an investment of time when you're preparing for networking. So doing that research ahead of time is going to prepare you next for the next key. And that is when it comes to knowing your goals. You go to a networking group, what is your goal? Do you have a specific person that you want to meet at that networking event? Are there a specific group of individuals, companies, suppliers? Once you write those down, you'll be able to see the key people that are going to have an effect on your networking. When you're doing that research and putting down those goals, you also want to take a look at how much time you have. Because if it's a 2-hour event, you can't get caught up talking to that one individual when you have 3 to 4 other individuals that you're trying to make contact with. So again, you want to do your research 1, you set your goals 2. The third one you want to consider is finding out who produced that event. Who was the organizer of that event? Why is that so important? This individual took the time to put together an event and bring all these key individuals together. Why not show appreciation to that organizer? That's one. But also, if you think about it, that individual has all kind of contact names. They're the ones who invited all these individuals. By showing that appreciation, you'll be able to start building a relationship with that person, and they might actually end up being the key person to put you in contact with the people that you want to get in contact with there. So all this is a part of building that plan for networking. Last point that I really wanted to share is something very small but can have such a large effect. And it is to be careful with having distractions. What do I mean by distractions? There's one real huge distraction that a lot of individuals have during networking, and it's called a cell phone. You go into the networking event and you have that cell phone in your hand, and that could actually be a conversation blocker because you're not giving the full attention to the individuals that you're talking to. Or you get distracted because your phone goes off, or because you have a client that needs to talk to you. If you put aside the time for networking, let everyone know that during those 2 hours you're not going to be available by phone unless it's an emergency. Remember, you work all day. You actually took the time to go to this networking event. Why not make it productive? Don't let your cell phone be such a distraction that you can't have that one-on-one. And you know what I'm talking about. You ever are having a conversation with somebody and they're looking at that cell phone rather than talking to you? So here you might be able to have that conversation, and yet, because of that distraction, they're not having that response that you're talking about. So 4 key points. Again, do the research, write down those goals, make sure you show the gratitude to that organizer, and make contact with them. They should be your first contact for networking. And lastly, don't be distracted. And those are the 4 key points that I wanted to share with you today. Now we'll go ahead and just see if there's any questions that the girls might have.
Well, Jeff, exactly. It is the girls. We were having so much fun with Denene, and interestingly enough, the self-awareness really plays into networking. So we invited her to stay, and she did.
Thank you.
So she's joining the conversation with us. I have a question for you.
Please.
I forgot what it was. No.
Distracted.
Squirrel. So, you know, I find myself sometimes when I go to a networking event, or especially early on, not so much anymore because I know who I am, but when I'm speaking to people at the event, I find that there are a lot of people that have no idea how to explain their business, what they do, who they are. What do you say about, you know, prepping yourself for the networking event?
You know, that's a real good question, because sometimes you walk up to somebody and they don't have that experience. Why not help them? It's almost like interviewing an individual. You encourage them to speak about themselves. We were just doing it earlier today. You know, you have key questions. One of the first things you can ask is, how did you get started in your field? How did you get started in that career? Forget it. They're going to be able to grab from a pool of history that might have got them during that journey.
Absolutely.
Asking great questions.
Asking great questions.
Yeah.
And then also knowing what your business identity is. I think this is really interesting. There are times where I'm networking a lot, and it's easy for me to do my 30-second elevator speech, and then I find if I've dropped off a little bit, and then I go to an event after a while, and somebody asks me, what do I do?
You're rusty.
I'm so
Squirrel.
I work a lot.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Publishing. I go to the college.
We all find ourselves in that situation where we hit that speed bump and it's a hiccup. However, again, asking the right questions or encouraging them to ask the right questions. What happens with me is I find out everybody likes talking about themselves.
Yeah.
You go to a networking group, everybody wants to talk about themselves. So usually I don't start off talking about my elevator speech, as they say. I always encourage them to go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself. I want to ask enough questions till the point that I can get them to encourage them to ask about me.
Oh, yeah, that's a great point.
Because 90% of the times, oh my gosh, enough about me. Tell me a little bit about you. And now they're going to ask about me, and then I can share.
Smart.
You'll see if somebody seriously wants to know about, what you do for a living when it comes down to that. But that was a good question that you asked.
Well, thank you.
I know,
I tried.
absolutely.
I love the part about the cell phone and the distraction. I had a friend once say about pulling out your cell phone is, would you pull out a crossword puzzle and just start doing it in front of somebody? That's the equivalent. You're not paying attention, you're distracted, you're acting like they're not important. You make that person feel as though whatever they have to say doesn't matter.
Yeah, but sometimes that cell phone could become a security blanket. That's the issue here, is because you go to an event, a lot of times you see somebody walking around with a glass. That becomes a security blanket. Or that cell phone becomes a security blanket. And then, they don't have nobody to talk to. Oh, let me start making phone calls, or there's nobody here, so I'm just going to go ahead. No, you need to be focused. You mentioned it earlier. Be focused on the moment.
Yes.
To see what the highest priority is at that networking event is meeting new people and being focused on them.
Well, definitely, yes. The face-to-face is really important in this day and age. We don't get a lot of face-to-face time. Now, Jeff, let me ask you about something that is also pertinent when we're talking about networking in this day and age, social media. I know for myself, as a matter of fact, with this, whenever we come into studio, I'm very interested in Denene. She's the most interesting person that I know.
Oh,
but I'm aware, and I'm taking pictures, and I want to share those on our social media. So how do you balance that? What is the recommendation? Because I do want to pull out my phone and make that connection with that person. Hey, take a picture with me. I'm going to put it on my social media, and then we can have conversation. Is that good? Is that bad? What are your suggestions?
Okay, so with that, respect. I take a picture with you. That's a personal picture. Now I'm going to look at you and say, hey, listen, would you mind if I shared that on social media?
Okay, so etiquette.
Because that's just basic etiquette. Another thing is that there is business social media, and then there's personal social media. So usually a lot of times if I'm networking, I'll ask about their LinkedIn page. I'll ask about more of the business aspect of it. And then I will say, by the way, do you have a business Facebook? And then, you know, later on when we become friends, then I'll worry about the, you know, the regular Facebook. But always showing that etiquette, always staying business and then transitioning from there.
I think that's great about asking permission, because I do it a lot with my clients. I snap photos and video and do a lot of things for social media when I'm out with my clients. And I always ask them, you know, if I can use their image for certain promotions and certain things like that, you know, testimony and all that sort of thing, because we live in such a world where we're always seeking that social proof, and it's great, but again, that's a boundary with some people. Maybe they don't want their image out there for whatever reason,
and there are a lot of people
they don't want people to know their business or what they're doing.
A lot of people, they don't. They have that, you know, that little Chucky on their shoulder that is saying, don't put my picture out there.
Well, I've had clients who don't want a sign in their yard. They don't want their neighbors to know that they're selling for whatever reason. So, same thing.
And then again, you have to, especially a realtor, you want to post, but you know, you might not want their face with that house, or, you know, so again, at a networking event, it's all etiquette, like you said, and respect. But yes, we all snap those pictures, and sometimes they're not the best pictures.
I know. Yeah, I like to be the author of the photos.
Behind the lens.
Behind the lens, for sure. So a lot of planning beforehand. So we've talked about having icebreakers, asking the right questions. We've talked about the types of events and goals. What about really knowing who is at the event and how do you approach that person that you really, really want to meet, and you know they're going to be at the event, and you don't really know what you're going to do, and you don't want to accost them and be weird at the event.
You don't want to fangirl them or fanboy them.
No. What do you do?
Again?
I'm like this, whenever I meet somebody that is famous or semi-famous, I always tell myself that I'm going to be cool. And then when I go to meet them, I'm like, hi, it's really nice to meet you. I'm like, be cool, be cool, be cool.
Okay, but that's a legit question. And here, there's two parts to that one. And you're killing me. And that is, first, the social media does wonders. Everybody likes to send out those events. And what happens is, who's going, who's not going, who's thinking about going, who's interested, whatever buttons they push, right? So you have that. Then again, going back to meeting the organizer, you may see that individual is going. Now you can call that organizer and you can say, hey, listen, I just noticed that, you know, you have all these wonderful people coming. And first, I wanted to show my appreciation for having the ability to go to your event. And I was wondering, do you know for a fact if this particular individual is going? There's nothing wrong with asking. I mean, because they found them important enough to invite to that event. Again, that organizer is your #1 contact to be able to introduce you to a lot of people, and a lot of people don't think about that.
Well, yeah, that I didn't even think about that, and also it opens the door so that when you're at the event, ask permission. Again, etiquette. Mr. So-and-so, do you mind if when we're at the event, would you mind introducing us?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's key in on that individual.
And piggybacking on what you said is, most people like to talk about themselves and doing your research before. So say there's somebody that you want to meet, maybe doing a little digging, not stalker-ish, but just doing a little background check, and then that could be a great icebreaker. Hey, I saw that you just went on a ski trip to Colorado. How was that? You know, something to break the ice, or, you know, I heard this about you. I heard about this restaurant that you like. How is that? You know, something that is not business related, that's kind of a warm thing that we can talk about, and then dive into the business aspect.
Yeah. That's actually really smart. We have this advantage that we didn't have years ago, where we can actually do some homework and see people and meet them before we actually meet them. So that's pretty cool. Jeff, thank you so much. That was great information.
Very welcome.
My
Really
got us thinking.
pleasure.
And I'd like to thank Denene for coming and playing with us today and helping inspire
Making me laugh, making me
and
cry.
making us giggle.
All of the feels.
All the
Absolutely.
feels.
And I'd like to say thank you to Eastern Florida State College for hosting us, and the television and digital media team for taking such good care of us.
They do a phenomenal job.
They do a phenomenal job.
Thank you, guys.
Until next time, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Trending Now Talk. Join the conversation today. Download and subscribe for free on iTunes, Buzzsprout, and Spotify. Trending Now Talk is recorded at the Eastern Florida State College Studios in Cocoa, Florida.